Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the West Yorkshire Football Show and our usual Monday night roundup of the weekend's action. I'm delighted to say I'm joined by a pretty bumper house tonight of Gareth Walker, Lewis Sale, Dave Roy, and Stephen Downs. How are we all doing, gents? Are we well?
Yeah, not so bad, mate. Thank you.
Look like blankety blank there, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We are one short. We are only one short of a full house for blankety blank.
You could say that again.
We're doing well tonight. We are doing well.
Nice to see Lou turn up.
Thanks, mate.
He's turned up.
You can put me wage in my post, mate. Thank you.
How are we all in general? How are we all feeling about the weekend's football that has been? I mean, for Gaz and Downs, you got draws. For Lou, you got a win in the NPL East, and Dave, the less said about your result, maybe the better for the time being. But how are we all feeling? How's football treating you all?
I think me and Gaz might have similar stories tonight, to be absolutely honest. The only difference is Gaz at least is happy in his position. I am not.
I'm happy, Downsy, but I'm quite nervous that we're going to end up bottling it. But we'll go on to that.
Gaz, shut up. You're not bottling it. Stop
Can I ask one question before we kick off? Pardon the pun. Why has Downsy got like a flip chart in his background? Has he got Huddersfield's tactics for the next game? Something ready to go?
He's taking over from Liam Manning, so that's why he's having these conversations with Gary Nagel.
Dave's seen this office, right? It's a homemade dryer. That's what it is. I haven't taken it down yet.
Look like a flip chart.
Hang on, how come Dave's been invited to your house and the rest of us haven't?
Hang on, it does look like that is a wall chart, to be fair, behind you, Downs. It does look like a wall chart.
Don't concede in the 90-plus minute again.
Hey.
The reason Dave has seen my house is because he very, very kindly, after the Kevin Nagel interview, drove me back to Wakefield, and I gave him a few beers for doing that. By the way, he didn't drink them while he was driving. I just want to put that out there. Don't drink and drive.
I'll just quickly say, Downsy weren't in the car on the way home when the cans were clinking around, so he can't actually comment. But no, I didn't.
All right. Everybody else don't drink and drive. Dave obviously might have done.
I didn't. I never did. I brought 4 home, full as well. But no, we did our post-interview after, didn't we, in that office?
We did, mate. And if anybody hasn't seen it, please go check it out on the channel. Give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and please do comment. Grace, I've done your job for you there. It's all right, mate.
Yeah, you've done that well, to be fair. Publicising, we have, that means it's doing quite well, actually, on the old views front, isn't it? That last kind of interview that we had with Kevin Nagel a week or two ago. So, if anyone who hasn't seen it, it is on our YouTube channel. I'm going to start, though. Dave, with you, we'll start with a non-league side, so we'll work our way down the divisions. And, of course, in doing so, we start at the top, and that is with FC Halifax Town, our highest-ranked non-league side in our region. Now, when we spoke, was it? I can't remember. We won last week.
The week previous.
Yeah, I know we were talking. We touched on the fact that obviously it was the last home game of the season for Halifax at the weekend, and that you were hoping that Town would end on a high. Didn't turn out to be the case, at least on the score sheet, I'm afraid, though, did it? It was a heavy defeat home to Southend, who are playoff bound. Talk us through it.
There it is. This is our heaviest defeat. This is our heaviest defeat at home since November 2015, which was the 6-3 defeat to Braintree Town, which was Darren Kelly's final match in charge. And I think it was one of those days. I've now had a chance to look at others' views on it. I weren't actually in attendance at this game. I've listened to Adam Lakeland's post-match interview, and it sounds very much like, I mean, of course, Southend are the better team. Everybody tipped the hat to that. But they seemed to be a bit of a case of anything Southend did was just went in the back of the net. I think there was particular periods in the game where I think we got caught out on the break, and there was a few things that happened during the game that swung it heavily in Southend's favour. I mean, we were drawing the game. We pegged it back to 1-1, and I think within a couple of minutes we were already 2-1 down. There was a debatable penalty, something Adam Lakeland alluded to. But look, at the end of the day, we had nothing to play for. It's a tremendous, tremendous shame because it was building up to the cacophony of this maybe being one of the games that would have decided that final playoff place or even the final 2 playoff places. But as it now stands, I think we've already got the league table ready in the background. We're now, 11 points behind both Southend and Forest Green. And yeah, we've still had a good season. I've kept saying it towards the end of this year. We've had a good year. We've got a striker that scored 27 goals who's under contract for next year. So should he leave, he'd have to leave for a fee. We usually do very well with fees and sell-ons and such. So the future's bright, but of course it's things we've discussed again offline and have touched upon on this show. What's the club going to do over the summer? Is the next news after we play Woking this Saturday, is the next time we hear officially from the club like, oh, we've got these friendlies, and that be in 6-7 weeks time, and everybody be like, when are we releasing season tickets? What's happening with shirts? Who have we signed? We seem to just hibernate over the summer. There's been a little bit of ready-made excuses the past couple of seasons. We got into the playoffs last year and we didn't know what league we were going to be in. We all knew what league we were going to be in. We've had Wembley, the season before last with that one, whereas with this one, we've known since the 11th of April what league we're going to be in, if they were going to put a pricing structure in place depending on division. And it's kind of over to the club now. We've said it. I've said it countless times on this show. We're not sure exactly where David Bosworth is in terms of his own health. You've got the Shea Stadium potential things going on in the background. And I mean, I spoke to Kate Durden, who's Halifax's MP, and she said, we've spoken with David Bosworth, but it's been a few months since we've heard from him. And I don't know whether that's going to carry on into the summer. But would people rather we have season tickets out and I don't know, have stuff sorted early and have a season where we lose all those players and finish 16th? Or would they rather have something like last season where the club's busy behind the scenes again, in inverted commas, but they're doing that because they're interviewing and Adam Lakeland was successful? It shows up, I think, the number of staff that work at Halifax behind the scenes. I mean, there's only really 3 people, if you include David Bosworth, who were publicly visible, shall we say. There's him as the owner. We have a secretary, and Lou Green is just does everything else, as far as I'm aware. We don't have a commercial manager, and that's been one thing that people have been speaking about a lot. We've had a lot of commercial managers over the last decade. I think off the top of my head, we've had something like 12 or 13 different people, and yeah. All supporters get a little bit impatient over the summer, and I understand that, and social media and that need to have news all the time, straight away, every day, and have something to read, something new, keep everybody's attention. I get that, it can have a bit of a knock-on effect that people feel like they have to know everything all the time at every second of every day instead of maybe just chilling out. But we as a club are always, like last season, we were the last ones to announce our season ticket prices. There was no
this is the
price
thing,
structure
isn't
in
it?
place. Yeah,
this is the thing, is that with Town historically, they've been somewhat the opposite. Whilst the fans want to know stuff, as you said earlier, Town historically kind of hibernated. Obviously, last summer it was a busy one in terms of appointing a new manager and trying to sort out some player contracts and that sort of thing. But that's a basic given ongoing thing. There should be still stuff coming out regarding the other things. I mean, just quick by a quick show of hands from the rest of you lads, stick your hand up if your club has already put out information about season ticket sales for next season, and season tickets have already been on sale for next year. Because I can speak for Lincoln on that front, and I'm assuming for you three, for City, for Town, and for Park Avenue / Newcastle, Lou, all of the season ticket stuff's kind of well underway and on sale.
Yeah. We never do like early season tickets where you could pay maybe in 2 or 3 installments, and I know some clubs do that. We never seem to offer that, and it's just. I think what supporters are scared of is we seem to run, I want to say, quite a tight ship, and it only needs one season where we don't punch above us weight. And I don't know, let's say we finish in the bottom half or we're fighting relegation and this club's done. Like it'll be if we get relegated, we may as well pack up because it'll be 500 or 600 people at home to Needham Market who will battle like mad to get a 0-0 draw. It'll be East Stand only, and nobody wants to see that. We already struggle for crowds. We're not from the outside. We don't seem to be very fan friendly, and it's a shame because we are getting it right on the pitch. We've got it right on the pitch for what, over the last 10 years. We've been to Wembley twice. We've been in the playoffs, I think, 4 or 5 times. There's only been this season, really, and Chris Millington's first season, where we haven't had something to play for. We've been right up there in the north. We got promoted at the first time of asking. We struggled coming back, and then we had the hope of Jamie Fullerton might do something. Then it didn't quite work. Then we had the Pete Wild years that were good. Chris Millington had a crappy start. We still went to Wembley and won the FA Trophy, and then it's been playoffs, missed out. We've always had something to play for. We just have to have one year where we don't punch above our weight, and it could get incredibly toxic. It really could. And the stories that people tell from like the 60s, 70s, 80s, where it was like the Shea was like, we were like the worst football team in England, the worst football league side, had the worst stadium, but it was like everything, every time the club was praised, it was about the people involved. Like, I don't know, referees would praise the sandwiches and the cups of tea. Like, we got a lot of plaudits off the field, despite being one of the worst football league sides for however many years you want to put on that, 50, 60 years. Do you know what I mean? We still won. We won unofficial bits of awards. We used to have a good pitch, despite the fact we were struggling 4th division side. And there's not really a lot of that now. Like the pitch, everything with the club comes with a black cloud. Like the pitch hasn't just been sorted. It has been sorted, but now you've got the Football Foundation thing hanging around in the background. Are the club or the council going to get stung for the £400,000 clawback because the club needs a 21-year lease? Otherwise, the Football Foundation will want their 400 grand back, and the council or the club are going to be on the hook for that. And it needs to be sorted in one way, one shape or another. And obviously, being involved with stuff off the field with the Shea, there's not really a lot more I can say on that other than there's been mistakes made that are being pointed out, and responses are required because it's going to get things are already hitting the fan. To sort of coin maybe more of a Stephen Downs type analogy story.
Whoa, hang on. Don't bring me into
rapid
it.
fire diarrhea hitting the fan from a man stuck up a tree or whatever else you want to do. It's messy. It is messy behind the scenes. But
as you say, there's not too much that you can kind of go into. Downsy, let it go. There isn't too much, obviously, Dave, that you can kind of go into on that kind of front. In terms of on the pitch kind of thing, as briefly as we can, where do we feel the chances of keeping hold of Will Harris between now and the start of next season?
I'm not sure. I mean, so we'd love to keep him. He's just scored 27 goals, and he was out of favour at Spennymoor Town behind. I'm sure Lou might know it. Is Spennymoor have quite a famous striker?
Glenn Taylor.
Yes, that's him. He ended up second fiddle to him. So, look, a striker that scored 27 goals is going to attract interest. As I said at the start, he is under contract, though. It's going to require a fee or some kind of sell-ons with him. I think most of our players this season are actually under contract that we'd want to keep. There's a few. I think Angelo Capello might be one, where we need a few contract renewals, etc. But the main core of our team are under contract for next year, so it's going to require transfer bids and sell-ons for them to be dislodged. And I mean, the last time David Buzzensworth spoke more openly to supporters is what I've said on the show before. He's like, we get these players because we're putting them in the shop window for Football League, and it's frustrating because we can never get there as a club. They can get there as individuals. 4, 5, 6 players every year can get there individually, but we can never get there as a collective. Do you know what? We're probably not ready. I've just spoken about the fact that the club seems to survive on 3 people behind the scenes. Maybe we're just not ready for the Football League. You need online ticketing as an absolute basic, and everybody from, dare I even say, like the leagues where you've got Wakefield and stuff, people have got card payment stuff in place. We haven't really got any of that. You can go to the East Stand reception and pay by card, but how annoying would that be for away supporters? You don't just walk around the ground. You've got to walk out of the ground, down a hill to come back in. It's very, very inconvenient, but that's where we're at. We've always, throughout our history, been 20 years behind the norm. It's always been the same. I've said this to supporters. I don't know when letters became the technology, we'll have still been sending pigeons. We'd have still had pigeon carriers, and we'd still be sending telegrams when emails become a thing. We've always just been black and white when everybody's had colour telly. That's the only analogy I can really think of. We've always been
that
behind
basis,
the curve.
On that analogy, as long as somebody's unplugged the fax machine, you should be able to keep hold of Will Harris then, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, I think some deals are even still done by fax even today. There's been stories of big clubs missing out on players because of fax machines having problems. I think De Gea at United might have been one, unless they're just saying them for a bit of a laugh. You know what I mean? You get the point.
That was the best part of 10 years ago.
It wouldn't surprise me if the club's still on dial-up internet. Do you know what I mean? We've always just been behind the curve. We've never just, I don't know, even just stayed with clubs. I mean,
it's little things like that could certainly help, you think, with FC Halifax in terms of catching up and just simple things that could go a long way to helping bring investment into the club and get them on a sound footing going forward, I suppose.
I mean, the Southend game, I mean, we still had a healthy crowd, but there was 600 Southend United supporters there. But then it was a 12:30 kickoff. They'll have had to plan that in advance. So by the time it's like, oh, well, we've not really got anything to play for, they've already booked a weekend to come for the early kickoff. But with advanced ticket sales, from a few weeks ago when we still had something to play for, would we have shifted tickets? Because the ground holds 10,000. It's not as if we're going to sell out or anything like that. But you get the point I make. I think more Southend supporters certainly would have bought advanced tickets for this match, knowing it was coming up. Like you get Hartlepool taking 1,500 to York, and they're like 12. But when them went on general sale, they'll have had a chance to get into top 7 as a for instance. It may work. It won't work at the Shea because the ground's just too big. We're never going to run out of tickets. The only time it's going to happen is if we get a big FA Cup tie, and we're very allergic to it. We have some serious allergies to having FA Cup runs. We tend to be out as soon as we're in it at the minute. We've had a couple of good draws over the last 20 years, but it's still a bang on about it. We haven't been in the third round draw for 38 years.
I want to finish
even when we come in at the first round.
I want to try and finish up on town and move on to kind of the rest of the non-league. Obviously, one game to go for Halifax, and it's 10th place walking away for your final game of the season. Obviously, whatever happens, you're guaranteed a top 9 finish at the very least. Woking can't catch you. Your thoughts going into that kind of the final game? I mean, are we going to get a Will Harris hat-trick taking to 30 for the season? Are we going to get a couple more departing goals possibly from Josh Amami before he may well leave in the summer? Or is he another one that you expect may stay?
I'm not really sure. He had great form up until January when whatever happened. There was a transfer request or whatever put in. There was so many he said, she said rumours, but he was then in inverted commas injured the whole of January, and he come back not in the greatest of form. I think he scored something like 12 or 13 goals up to Christmas. He got 3 in the second half of the year. But Woking under Jermaine Defoe, I think, have done very, very well. I don't know if it's just that new manager bounce or what have you, but I mean, a top 10 finish is great. I wish it were a season where we had that cup, what only really run for 2 years, where you could play in Scotland or Dublin, like some kind of Scottish League trophy or whatever. That would have been nice.
Yes, another one.
Could have drawn somebody in Scotland or Dublin and just had a bit of a weekend away. That would have been quite nice. But yeah, top 10 finish, can't argue with that. Quite happy with that. Disappointed we haven't got into the playoffs, but truth be told, out of them top 7, I think we've only won once, and that was against Rochdale. We've mostly lost. I mean, Southend have got an aggregate score over us of 9-2. Can't argue with that. Forest Green beat us home and away. Scunthorpe beat us at home, and we drew with them at Blandford Park. We beat Boreham Wood, lost down there. We lost home and away at Carlisle. We lost home. No, we drew with York, but should have lost at home. You know what I mean? And we lost away. We are where we deserve to be, unfortunately. Yeah,
it's those kind of results against the top 7 that has meant that you're not quite in the top 7 as it comes to the final games of the season. Lou, I'll come to you as we continue through the non-league scene into the Northern Premier League. And for Guiseley, they finished with a 1-1 draw away at Ashton United. Former Guiseley man and current, or until Saturday at least, current Ashton player, but a man that you know from around the team for a long, long time. Tom Denton's retirement game, I am led to believe he was playing for
yeah.
FC United against one of his former clubs. Obviously, for Dave, he was a man at FC Halifax Town as well. I'm about to say his younger years, but I still think he was around the 30-ish mark when he was at Town, to be fair. He's just one of those
he's been
players.
in his late 20s at least, I think.
Yeah, he's been around for forever.
Yeah.
I mean, start on I guess, on guys doing that point away from home, Lou.
Yeah, 1-1 draw away at Ashton. Like I say, that pretty much is where they've been, haven't they, all across the season? Pretty average, pretty mid-table, nothing to really write home about. I know there's obviously a couple of players missing, through injuries and holidays as well. But I mean, Carl White got on the score sheet after 20 or so minutes, and like I say, it's probably one that's I've seen on social media with Tom Denton. Magnificent striker at this level. He's for his size, his physique, and let's be honest, he isn't blessed with pace, but crikey, you knew when you were playing against him, you were always in for a rough ride against Tom. So yeah,
he's never needed that pace, did he?
Yeah, and he's been, he's done really well, and over the years, he's one of those players that I think many people look down the year and go, wish we'd have had him. But yeah, guys, finished off the season probably is what they've been throughout the season. I think there's going to be a bit of a rebuilding job down at Nevermore.
Yeah, here's one slightly peculiar thing. I didn't get a screenshot of the league table, but guys, they have finished before everybody else because of the way that the season has gone and the odd number of teams in the Northern Premier League because of the Widnes situation at the start of the season. They have finished the season a week ahead of everybody else. So they've played their 40 games and everybody else will continue for another week.
Yeah, it's odd, isn't it? Really strange. And to be fair, depending on how things go, they could actually finish, 14th or 15th, which is disappointing, really. I think that many of the fans would have hoped for a little bit of a better season. But yeah, their season's done. They can go on the beach a little bit earlier than the rest of them, can't they? And it also gives, maybe an opportunity for the coaching staff to go out and see a game or two and see what options available for next season. Even though the last day of the season in some of the games don't mean much, but it's a battle at the bottom end of the table. It's still a battle, at kind of a top as well between Hebburn and Hennisford to win champions slot in that one. So yeah, listen, we've said it before. It's been just very average, unfortunately for Guiseley, and it's one of that they're going to have to really regroup across pre-season, see where they go. I mean, Stocksbridge are going down. They've obviously been there, Ian Richards and the coaching staff. So do they go and look at some players from there? Where do they look? It's not a massive pool that they're going to have to fish in to find some real gems. I think that we're going to have to look for, because there's going to be a lot of teams having to rebuild. You only have to look at Hyde, who have really struggled. I see them rebuilding a bit more under Michael Clegg as well, and Workington have stayed up. Whitby, been in some issues over recent months as well. So I think there's going to be a fair amount of change, and we need it.
That's the thing with the NPL. There are still things to be resolved at the top of the table, as you mentioned. Hebburn and Hensford are currently locked on 76 points with one game to go. FC United Manchester have got 2 games to go and are only 5 points behind. So I think by some twist of fate, FC United Manchester could still win the league, I think, mathematically at least, but it would certainly take some doing. At the bottom, as you say, Stocksbridge are long since relegated. Morpeth and Prescott Cables are on 39 points with a 3-point gap to Whitby Town. Goal difference could come into that depending on how things go. I mean, look, if it's Morpeth and or Whitby that end up coming down, if Prescott to stay up, that would be Whitby and Morpeth into the NPL East, which will obviously be 2 strong sides that will go into the NPL East, of course, Lou. If it was either of those, but if it was both of them, it could be a logistical nightmare for the league to
the West. I think Prescott could go in the West because of the location of where they are. That might go into
Whitby and Morpeth. They're both in the East.
Yeah, they could be. Yeah, depending on who that is. But yeah, I mean, obviously Stockbridge are coming down. Obviously, there's Gisborough Town, Whitley Bay potentially coming up to the Northern Premier League East as well. So even though you might lose a few North East teams in that division, you're gaining a few more again. So it's the miles are still going to be wrapped up. But yeah, I think if Whitby did go down with Morpeth, it being in the East, but I suspect Prescott would probably shift across to the West. But listen, it's all to play for. I mean, just having a look in here, Prescott at home to Bamber Bridge, who were bang average mid-table. Whitby, let's have a look at where they are. at home to Cleethorpes. That's a tricky game. So, yeah, it's goes down to final. I mean, obviously, people know across our region, Lee Bullock as well, who's been at Bradford City in the past. He's manager at Whitby. And I know that they've really struggled to almost put some teams together in recent weeks. And watching his interviews, he's been frustrated because he's been there a while. But I think if they stay up, it's a magnificent achievement. But again, it's another club that's under a little bit of a difficult situation. But I think champions, I think Eben should beat Rush Hall. I think Ennisford have got some unbelievable players for that level, like ridiculously good. I'd expect them to probably win the playoffs. I mean, FC United have, people say the word bottle. I don't really like the word bottle, but have lost away a little bit in recent weeks. That, they were flying at the time, but they haven't done really well in the past 2 or 3 weeks, which has put them in the playoffs. But again, it's a team you probably don't want to face. But the way the situation is going to be, if they get through to the final, they could possibly have to play away at Hennisford, where if it had been at home, you'd have fancied the chances with a packed out Broadhurst Park. So, yeah, it's a tricky one. But listen, it's a shame we're not talking about guys because they're just nowhere near that mix. I mean, you know what, from the playoffs, Stockton, who being deducted points, level on points with Lancaster and Gainsborough. Let's have a look there. They're 11 points ahead of Guiseley. That's a lot to make up for next season.
Yeah, guys are currently looking to be 9 points ahead of that bottom 4. So as you can see, as we said, safely in that mid-table pack. Into the MPL East, the results from over the weekend, Lou.
Yeah, so just to run through some of those results, and obviously we'll probably get onto the permutations of where we are with a lot of these teams, because a lot of our clubs in West Yorkshire have got something to fight for right on the final day. So Park Avenue beat Bishop Auckland 1-0. Relatively comfortable, probably until the last 15-20 minutes. Arguably should have been at least, probably 2 goals that really come half-time. A goal got disallowed for offside. A blatant Stonewall penalty not given against Luke Parkin before the half-time whistle. But then second half, Bishop Auckland came back into it and actually had a goal disallowed themselves through the kitchen sink and 4 strikers on at the end to see what they could do, but they're in the battle to stay up. Brighouse Town, unfortunately, they've been confirmed as being relegated, suffering a 2-0 defeat onto Washington. Another team that will go under big changes. Ossett United with an unbelievable win at Concert 3-0. Concert, who were 8th. Not much to play for, but Ossett, who really struggled recently, have come away with a magnificent win. And again, we're watching James Walshaw's interview post-match, and he was delighted with how his team went. They've got the final day of the season. They need to win to stay up, pretty much, depending on results. They play Avenue at Ingfield, so for different reasons, both teams just need to win. Garforth and Silsden drawing to all. Silsden pulling back in the end to get the point. Actually speaking to our friend of the show, Matt Kavanagh, last night, funny enough, messaging him, we were talking about obviously how that last game of the season could possibly look for Silsden. It's a great achievement. I know obviously they've been trying to put a squad together all season after becoming up champions last year. They've struggled to recruit the players probably they wanted. It's been a bit of a difficult situation, but for Silsden to potentially stay in this division will be a really, really good achievement. That's where we are in terms of West Yorkshire sides. But yeah, it comes down to a final game where Ossett and Silsden basically have to win to stay up, depending on results, with the likes of Blythe Town playing Garforth. Trying to look as well where we are. Yeah, Ossett, obviously, Park Avenue, Silsden against Concert. And in terms of a playoff race as well, which we can come on to. So this is where it involves 2 of our teams, let's be honest. So Emily cemented their playoff position with 2-2 draw against Ponty on last Friday night. They were actually 2-0 down with Emily and pulled it back to draw 2-2 in front of a crowd of nearly 800, which was a remarkable achievement for everyone down there at Ponty. But Ponty, in recent weeks, unfortunately, have just released a grasp of that final playoff place. Because of that Avenue, 3 wins on the bounce have catapulted themselves into that final playoff position. But again, it goes down to that final day. Basically, Avenue need to better Ponty results to be in the playoffs, where they'll play Matlock. If they lose and Ponty draw, Avenue still will be in the playoffs because of goal difference, with quite a significant amount of 19 goal better off for Avenue. If Avenue lose and Ponty win, Ponty go into the playoffs and will face Matlock away. Emily still have a chance of potentially getting a home tie to be third ahead of Dunstan. Emily are playing Newton Aycliffe at home. with respect to Newton Aycliffe, I'd expect them to probably beat Newton Aycliffe. Dunstan at home to Ponty. It's ridiculous how it's worked out. Ponty just have to go to Dunstan and win. Dunstan, you'd think, might have not anything to play for, but they do because they want that home time. We know what Dunstan are like at home in the northeast. They are a match for absolutely anybody, and they'll want to get that home time. The last thing they'll want to do is to travel to potentially Emily if Emily win. So between 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th on that final day, it's all to play for.
Can I jump in now?
Go on, Danza.
So what's interesting about obviously the playoff places is that Emily lost to Dunstan in the playoffs last year because they ended up having to go up to Dunstan. So I spoke to Richard Tracy yesterday because obviously I write for the website. He's confident that they want to go into that last game against Newton Aycliffe to win. I agree with Lou that they should do that. But I think the thing for Richard that he's concentrated on is that they've obviously lost Dec Lampton, the keeper, who's probably the best keeper in the league. Lou might disagree. And Jack Cargill has been out for a couple of months now with injuries. Again, probably one of the best sort of centre backs in the league. And that's made a bit of a difference to Emily's sort of team and solidarity at the back. The lads have obviously done really well up to this point, but I think you look all through the season how close Emily's been to that top 2, trying to chase Radcliffe, and then it's just sort of slipped away a little bit. Sorry, not Radcliffe, Redcar. Sorry, and it's just slipped away in the last couple of weeks. So I think for Richard, he'll want to go into the playoffs with a win under the belt, really.
I think they need to, Downsy. I think because it's easy to look at that and look at Emily's last 5 games, and it's going to be difficult. We all know whichever division we're in, you want to go into the playoffs in some kind of form. And at the moment, Emily is struggling in the past 5 games. I know a few people went. Hello, Dave. I know a few people have. You saw you peeking round, don't you?
Yeah, there's on the ground.
Nice. But yeah, Emily, you've got to win against Newton Aycliffe. And to be fair to Newton Aycliffe, even over the bottom end of the table and and are relegated now, they push Matlock all the way at the weekend. Matlock have to get a 96-minute winner to beat Newton Aycliffe. So Emily have to win, and they've got to hope that weirdly enough Dunstan don't win against Ponty. And then Avenue obviously could potentially do the job, and that would be meaningless anyway for Ponty. But there's some huge games that you wouldn't have predicted at the end of the season that it goes down to that final game between Dunstan and Ponty. Emily to still have a place to fight for, and Avenue playing away at Ossett with both teams having to something on the line, playoffs and survival. A lot of these teams at the bottom are desperate. There's still a possibility. It looks unlikely, but there's a possibility Blythe Spartans could go down. It's very unlikely. But a month ago, that looked incredibly the case. Silsden, just need to get the job done against Concert, Bishop Auckland, and Blythe Town. It's tough. It's really hard. Blythe Town drawing against Redcars, giving them another lifeline out of absolutely nowhere.
I'd love to know, Lou, the points difference in the playoffs in terms of the heads to heads against each other. Because when I was talking to Richard, like I said yesterday, he said that actually, if you look at Emily's head to heads against the rest of the playoff teams, including Ponty, obviously, it's actually very good. So we're better against those better teams. Emily went up to Matlock and beat them, down to Matlock, and beat them 4-0. It just shows, and I don't know what Avenue's record is like against the other 4 teams.
You're right about Emily completely. Avenue haven't lost to Matlock all season. They went on the first day, drew 0-0, then beat them 2-0 on a Tuesday night. Dunstan, Avenue beat them, I think, 4-1 at home, and then lost in the last minute only a couple of weeks ago. Emily have had the beating of pretty much everyone in there. Avenue haven't beaten Emily, I don't think, for the past 2-3 years since being in this division. So listen, it's crazy. It's
I'm just trying to
crazy.
get across that even though Matlock's got the most points, it's not a given that they're just going to win the playoffs. I think that's what I'm trying to say as well.
Yeah, there's definitely that argument. I mean, listen, it's probably well speculated. Matlock are paying very well. They've got some remarkable players at this level, but they've been cemented that place for the past 2 weeks. And listen to Ryan Cresswell, who's played at Avenue before, and he was talking about potentially having a look at players in different situations and different scenarios, and that's all well and good, and that's fine, and that could be absolutely what you need in the playoffs. But does it just shook things? Have they got that same intensity as what the others have to play for? It could work in the favour and against them. I mean, Matlock against Grimsby Borough at home, with respect to Grimsby, you'd expect Matlock to win, and they could rest a few players ready for that Tuesday night playoff game, whether that is against Avenue or Ponty. It doesn't. To be fair, it's just got to be what it's going to be. I think whoever goes into that final playoff, place whether it's Avenue or Ponty, will give Matlock a blooming good game. But you look at Matlock's running, and they've been phenomenal over the past 2 months, and they're the ones that people don't want to play, even though they probably don't want to play the team who are going to play on Tuesday. It's crazy. It's ridiculous.
Be great to have an Avenue Wembley final. I think that'd be magnificent.
It's a possibility. Yeah, it's a possibility. I mean, Dunstan again have come really good at the right time as well. But are not the team of what they were last year, in my opinion. But I think we've said it, haven't we? Any team in that playoff is capable of beating anybody, and that's happened across the course of the season. Like I say, Avenue have picked up at the right time. But if they don't get the job done on Saturday, it's completely meaningless, and Ponty could do the job. But there's a different mentality shift now. Ponty have been chased for the past 3 weeks. They have been chased, and now they are the chasers. And Avenue have got that different mentality shift on Saturday where they knew they still have to win, but they're getting hunted down now by Ponty. And there's going to be, I can imagine there's going to be a lot of twists and turns on Saturday, and people going to be looking at scores and hearing what the scores are. Avenue could be drawing, Ponty could be winning. In Avenue, have got to go for it. We've just got to go for it then. So, but even if Ponty win, that puts them on 74. And I think if Avenue draw on 74, so again that would see on 73. So that's not good enough for Avenue. They've just got to better Ponty's result. It's crazy. It's crazy.
It is. And of course, you've got to factor in Ossett and their need for 3 points at the bottom end of the table as well. And as you touched on briefly as well, Lou, that Silverstone, they've got that game at home to Concert as well for them to guarantee safety. I guess a silver lining for looking from the outside would be that Concert, they've got nothing to play for, so you would hope that Metcalf's side can get a win over them. And obviously, Ossett and Avenue, you look at that league table, depending on what happens in the North East, for the likes of Bishop Auckland and Blythe Town, it could be a good afternoon in the end for both of our West Yorkshire sides in that game, or a heartbreaking one for one of them.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think both teams in recent weeks, you can see by the running, they've unfortunately had to put themselves in that position, which has been a shame. But you just hope that both stay up. I don't know how it's going to happen. I don't want to tempt fate. I think one will go down, and I don't know who that is. I really can't choose it. You don't want anyone to go down, but listen, if we can get rid of 3 North East teams, that's great. It's obviously, really disappointing to know what's happened there at Brighouse. But if we can get rid of 3, that helps us even because next season we're going to get a lot more in the North East coming into that division. And there's a few more have stayed in there as well, like Concert, Heaton, Stannington, Ashington have all done really well. Blythe Spartans have come from nowhere to survive. So, yeah, it's a tricky one because, pretty much every West Yorkshire team, apart from Gareth, have it all to play for. Gareth can put the feet up and see what they can do, but Gareth have a part to play in all of it as well.
I just want to mention on Brighouse, obviously they lost 2-0 at the weekend to Ashington, which was a result that kept Ashington up. The goalkeeper, Michael Aqua, he saved his 6th penalty this season, which obviously in a season of a lot of negatives for the club, I think it's one real positive that they can take out of that. He's saved 6 this year. And, it was 0-0 till half time, etc. and stuff like that. But once Ashington scored, it's been a case, I think, for all the games I've seen in this second half of the year. Once Brighouse go behind, they have pretty much lost the game. But, yeah, Michael Aqua's kept 6 penalties out this season, which is a real plus for him on a personal thing. I know Brighouse are quite the general vibe for the clubs. They're quite happy to be relegated or be demoted down. Drop that level. For what Lou's been saying, there's a lot of travelling involved at this level, at North East level, which then feeds into, well, if you're promoted up to the NPL, you really have to be going for it. You can't sort of go up to make the numbers, which is what we're seeing with Hebburn. Hebburn were at this level and they got promoted up into this level. Like, once you go up again, you've got to go for it again, because I don't know, that's the general vibe I've got. If you get promoted, you've got to go up and push for the north, because there's no point just going up to make the numbers up, because then you end up maybe in a situation a bit like Liversidge, where they went up and they had all that momentum, etc., and they've ended up dropping 2 levels. I know they've won the league below this season, but yeah, it's both those levels are the same. They're all over the country. Obviously, you've got people like FC United and a few Lancashire clubs, but yeah, it's mostly up and down, isn't it? North East all the way down to like Derbyshire, Lincolnshire, and yeah, Brighouse would rather not speculate to try and accumulate. They'd rather just play it safe, know what they've got, and play at the NCEL level, where most of the league's Yorkshire. You've got Parkgate at Rotherham. I don't know what the furthest north and south are in there. It may even be Tadcaster down to somewhere like Parkgate, which is Rotherham, or a Sheffield club. It's pretty much a league of Yorkshire teams, which we've covered in the past.
Yeah, I think the furthest east you're probably looking at be probably Appleby, Frodingham, or Boxford, that are kind of Scunthorpe, Waste, and North Lincolnshire anyway. So not that far in the grand scheme of things. Lou, let's carry on getting through the non-league. I guess we'll kind of wrap up with the NCEL and the playoff games over the course of the weekend. Heartbreak for Tadcaster Albion.
Yeah, unfortunately lost out to Beverley Town in that playoff final. What I will say is Taddy and the guys really magnanimous in kind of the way that they went about the defeat. In terms of the post-match interview from Ryan Qualter was one you've got to watch, because it was really really telling of what a good person he is and what a good football team and club Tadcaster are. I think he recognised that Beverley were the better team on the day and deserved it. He gave full credit to Beverley, and says they've got to use it as a bit of fuel for next year, because of the young kids, and have done remarkably well to get to this position. But if it's one of those that it's actually, you hear post-match interviews and all sound the same, but it was a real touch of class, I think, from Ryan with that one. Wakefield, I mean, listen, dramatic. He's not even a word for it. Snatching a draw in the 90th minute. Jerome Greaves coming off a bench. He's played at higher levels now at Wakefield. Who, I've got a team pretty much full of players who played at a level or two higher and been winning on penalties. I mean, Leeds UFC, unfortunately, despite a really good season, have missed out for the final as well, losing against Worsborough. So yeah, that'll be quite a tasty semi-final. And another one that people may know of across our region, who's played at Farsley, and a couple of other places like Savossit. So Nathan Cartman is now manager of South Leeds. So that got announced earlier this week. So that's an interesting appointment down there. So maybe they could rely on his contacts for next season in Division 1. But yeah, Nathan Cartman has been around the block a fair bit. Prolific striker, Scarborough, Darlington. The clubs have been countless.
Yeah, he's a Halifax lad.
Yeah, I mean, Nathan Cartman, to be fair, this season has finished on 33 goals as well. At Pro Division for Albion, who, of course, were finishing a relegation spot. So is he going as manager or player manager at South Leeds? Surely he's going to be tempted.
You'd be tempted after scoring them goals, though. It's not a long career, is it? So, and I think probably with the resources clubs have got at that level, I think it's definitely one that they've got to probably look at, because he's probably too good to be on the bench at the moment at that level. But yeah, it's a good appointment for South Leeds, and it would be interesting to see what team they can build, because he's got plenty of contacts in Yorkshire and kind of North Yorkshire, North East, that he can maybe pull on to get his first job underway at South Leeds. And it could be a really competitive division that next season, because don't forget, Farsley are likely to come in at that level again, possibly. So that could be an interesting one to see.
Just a word on Wakefield. The final their final against Worsborough Bridge is away from home this coming Saturday. Wakefield away at Worsborough Bridge for a place in the NCL Premier Division. Just want to touch on a comment from Ian. Obviously, it was announced basically as soon as the weekend was over. Actually, last week, I think it was Tuesday, Wednesday of last week. Eccles Hill United, Lou. I mean, look, it feels like the worst kept secret in West Yorkshire non-league football. We called it as soon as they made that move to Cougar Park a year ago. Everyone has been talking about it over the course of the season, that Eccles Hill United are effectively no more. And yeah, a rebrand on what was Eccles Hill United is now Keighley Town.
Yeah, it's one that, like you said, it's something we've probably been expecting since they've moved to Cougar Park. It's obviously quite a synonymous name around Bradford, really, is Eccles Hill. You know, it's a blow to lose that name. Obviously, they've kind of gone down that route, obviously, to move across the Metropolitan District and go to Keighley and obviously rebrand a little bit into Keighley Town, obviously playing there now. So, you know, kind of what two clubs under the Keighley name now. So it's sad for those who've been associated with Eccles Hill from that naming perspective. It'll be interesting to see how they do under Keighley Town and what that looks like, and you know whether they get. I don't know what it looks like. I really don't know what that's going to look like. It's going to be an interesting one, but at the moment, it's one that they're going to have to build the crowds. They're going to have to build a lot of branding. They're going to have to build the name pretty much from scratch. It's a big job to do because they're not going to just get 300-400 people in week out. They've been getting 50 people every week, so it's not going to be an easy task for them.
I was just going to come on to that because I mean this was one of the things that whilst they were probably only getting give or take 80 to 100 or so maybe at Upper Eccles Hill, the old ground before the move. You look at the recent attendances from kind of January onwards for home games: 53 at home against Beverley Town, who have gone up through the playoffs. 61 in a derby game against Albion Sports in January, into February. In fact, in February, they didn't get any home games at all, presumably because of the pitch at Cougar Park. Into March, 54 for a home game against Rossington and Main, 60 against Sheffield, 61 against Frickley, 46 against Barton Town. I mean, the simple question is, or the simple fact is, on the face of it, it hasn't worked. Like on that one season of Eccles Hill United at Cougar Park has not worked.
I mean, I don't know the ins and outs of the finances and how the clubs have been made up and all that kind of stuff. I know that obviously when we heard that they were going to be moving to Keighley, we were surprised, but it's a big task for them. It's going to be a big job for them to really make some traction because listen, I mean, Steventon have been around for a long time now, and I think what Roy and the gang there have been 20 odd years. They've had to really battle it and in that region to stake a claim and put themselves amongst it. We've seen likes at Silsden, Danny Forrest, and now Cav's been there. They're having to build, and it's not been easy for them to recruit. So it's even though it's a big area, Keighley, it's still quite heavily populated. It's not going to be unique to that town of Keighley. So it's going to be. Listen, it's going to be interesting how it works out. Hopefully, it does for everybody concerned. And it is a massive blow to lose Eccles Hill as a name. There's no doubt about it because we've had many a good time down there at Kingsway, and it's sad to see. But sometimes time moves on, doesn't it? And there's nothing to say that Eccles Hill at some point might have a bit of a Phoenix club in the future. I generally don't know, but you never know what could happen down the line. But it's one of those that we'll have to wait and see what Keighley Town looks like next season. But listen, it's one of those that for some people it's exciting. It's a new club, but for others, it's sad and it feels a little bit of the old, Wimbledon / MK Don style.
It is, and when you'll know from the higher up non-league when AFC filed when David Haythornthwaite took over Kirkham and Western Football Club and completely rebranded and took the soul out of that area. Where was I going from there? I've completely lost my train of thought for a second. I was just checking some of the comments as well that we've got. One about Bradford, which we'll come to in due course. Hello, anything else going on the non-league scene? I think that probably covers everything for the time being. We'll rattle through League One and try and get ourselves wrapped up. So I appreciate we've done nearly an hour on the non-league side of things. They're busy at this time of year, of course. Turn attention then to League One. Gaz and Downsy, who wants to go first? You both got a point on the road. Who's the happier? Who's the more frustrated of the two of you?
I went first.
You're working your way up the league, so really you should finish with us, shouldn't you?
That is true. That is true. So, yeah, let's go for the lowest ranked League One side then, as it stands on the table.
Gaz has had
what
an hour. Gaz has had an hour. Just want to point this out. He's had an hour to plan that line, ladies and gents. He's had an hour. Right. Well done, Gaz. Well done. Superb, mate. I hadn't really got all to say, just that I'm just sick of conceding in the 11th minute of extra time or whatever bullshit the referee puts on this week.
Oh, he's thrown it in there.
I've thrown it in, Lou. I've just thrown it in like the players threw in that last goal. No, a 3-3 draw. Obviously, that follows on from the 3-3 draw at against Wickham, and then the I think it was 2-2 from memory against Cardiff. Yeah, it's been yesterday we did Town Talk, and I called Town the entertainers. I used the old Ange Postecoglou line, entertainers, but got nothing left really in terms of the results. Obviously, there's still the slim chance of getting playoffs, but it would literally need a miracle. A genuine miracle for us to get in there. So yeah, disappointing again to the players worked so hard against a promotion team in Bolton, promotion chasing team, sorry, and just ended it at the last minute. It was a good finish, but people weren't closing.
Great goal.
But people weren't closing him down, Chris, and so you look at every equaliser that we've had this week in the last 30 seconds, and they could have all been stopped in one way or another. That's
how many games have Stead and Drury been in charge for now, Downsley?
Oh God, thanks for putting me on the spot. They came in.
Sorry, mate.
The first game was.
I think it's 5 now, isn't it? Or 5 or 6.
I think I was going to say is
how many games left have you got to go?
Hasn't there been added time goal in every single game that they've been in charge of? Either for or against you?
No, because it didn't happen against Reading. Reading was the first one. Sorry. So
well,
yeah,
the others
so
hasn't there?
But yeah, the majority of the other games, yeah, there has. Yeah, it's a case of being just like I said, guys. Really sort of entertaining fixtures, but just can't lost of concentration at the end, mate, all the time.
Sorry, I just don't mean to pull you up, but Lasse Sorensen scored him a 96th minute against Reading, so it is all 5 games.
Oh yes, it is all 5 games. Yeah, correct.
So you had the Sorensen one against Reading, and then didn't you have didn't Leeds score in the 116th or something against Leyton Orient?
Yeah,
so you've had
against Leyton Orient. Yeah.
Yeah.
You had 2 goals for you and 3 goals against you. Is that's bloody ridiculous?
Yeah.
Yeah, Leeds in the 16th against Orient. The Wickham game, obviously, there was a goal for Town in the 96th and a goal against in 90 plus 11. The Cardiff game, it was 90 plus 5 for Salic to equalise. And then, the 90 plus 11 that Bolton equalised at the weekend. It's absolutely bonkers at the moment.
Yeah, it's mental. Might be the 90 plus 20th against Mansfield on Saturday. There's not much more to say in terms of, that this week has killed Town's. I say this week has killed Town's promotion playoff chance. It's not this week. It's results against Wigan at home, Northampton away, Burton away that have killed this season. It's not in the last week, but what the last week has shown is systematic failures in terms of, concentration, defending till the end, and having the ability to, you've shown the mentality to go up against these sides and in some aspects play them off the park. But in then other aspects, it's the hope that kills you, and it's just typical Town, unfortunately.
Well, there we go. Let's move on from Town on that. Let's just keep it nice and simple for this week. Gaz, anything to be a bit more positive about for Bradford?
Not really. They're
in the playoffs. It's far more positive.
We're we're bottling it, I think, as it's at the moment. You cannot go to any game and have a man advantage for 94 minutes because their 92 minutes, red card after 8 minutes. Sorry, 82 minutes, get my maths right. 8 minutes, they had a man sent off. So we had 82 minutes against 10 men. Conceded first and got it back to 2-1, winning 2-1, and then somehow ship a 96-minute equaliser against 10 men. The performance just wasn't really very good. Sorry, mate.
It's a former Guiseley loanee, Leo Farrell, as well. He got a few in Guiseley colours over the last couple of years, and he gets an appearance for his senior side, a rare appearance for his senior side, and gets himself on the score sheet against you.
Yeah, someone mentioned to me that he'd been at Guiseley. Basically, the story of the game was we started reasonably well in the first couple of minutes, and then Barnsley had a man sent off. I don't know if you've seen it. It's not a great tackle. He goes over. You couldn't tell from where we were properly, but when you watch it back, he goes over the top of the ball, and it's right in front of the referee. And he's literally the red card's out before anything else can happen. Really, it's really quick from the referee. It's right in front of him, like I said. And then for an hour of that game after the red card, City gave a perfect example of how not to play against 10 men. Just went long, and I know that a lot of our tactic is to hit the diagonal to the wing back, but we just kept going long, and we stuck with 3 at the back when Barnsley went to 1 up front, and it just didn't work. And Barnsley just gobbled it up, and arguably were the better side for a good hour after they'd gone down to, despite having a man less than us. And like I say, we looked like the team that were a man light, and then they got the goal just after half time. They made a change at half time, brought an extra defender on, and started going a bit longer themselves. Long throw into the box, and second week on the trot, we've not dealt with a long throw into the box, and O'Connell scores, and it seemed to wake us up a little bit. And for sort of 15-20 minutes after we'd gone behind, we started to play, and we mixed our play up a bit instead of just going with a long diagonal and straight to the centre halves. We started to knock it about, try a few different things, and we got 2 goals. First one's Nick Powell's first goal for City. He's been out injured for a heck of a long time, just like he was at Stockport. City fans wondered whether we'd ever see him play for us again, really. And he's had 2 decent cameos since he's come back from injury, and he played. We brought 4 subs on. We basically went from our usual 3-4-3 to we went 4-1-4-1, and we just had Power sitting in front of the back 4. Powell was the centre forward, and then we moved Humphreys to the left, and we had Lapsley and Sarcevic in the 10s, and we had Nerfil on the right, and it worked for, like I said, 15-20 minutes. It's a great ball in from Humphreys. It's a good header from Powell. It's 1-1. And then the second goal comes not long after. It's a ball in from Torre. And I think you couldn't tell again from the away end, really, but it looked like it had gone straight in. But when you watch it back, Mark Roberts has flicked it past his keeper. And you just think then, with 8 minutes to go, you've got a man advantage, just see the game out, and we contrived not to do it. It's just ridiculous, really. Alexander came out afterwards and said that it were unacceptable to concede in that manner against 10 men, and he's right. We had enough experienced players on that pitch to see that game out, and instead of doing the professional thing and taking the ball to the corner or whatever you might do, we were trying to score a third goal, and we've got done. And we kept giving corners away and just giving them a chance, and eventually, like I say, it worked, broke, and Ashby's in no man's land. Farrell gets across tilt, and he bundles it in at the near post, and yeah. Bad day, really.
Sorry, guys.
It's just a bad day, really, because that was I think if we'd have won that, you'd have said we were pretty much going to be finishing in the top 6. And now we look like we've got 3 tough games to come. We've got Plymouth at home tomorrow night. We've got Bolton at home on Saturday, both going for the playoff positions themselves. And then we've got Exeter away on the last game of the season, who might need to win to stay up. So we've put ourselves behind the 8 ball and given ourselves a job to do by losing to Stevenage and throwing 2 points away against Barnsley. I think we need to win one of these 2 home games against Plymouth or Bolton to make sure that we finish in that top 6. And if we don't, it's going to get very, very nervy.
Comments, Gaz. Sorry, Dan, just want to go on to the comments first. Gaz, Charlie Oscar says, Gaz, it felt like a defeat on Saturday, such a poor performance. Throwing out is crucial, but a very tough game. Alexander is wrong about Humphries. You look far better playing on the left. Your take on that?
Yeah, I agree with him. I've said all season, when I've seen Humphries, he looks a lot better on the left, and that's what Barnsley fans said. And so we've had this debate raging on all season. Alexander told him when he signed he was going to be a striker, and I just don't think he works hard enough to lead the line with the press. And yeah, I think he looks a lot better out on the left. He actually did an interview. I spoke about it on the pod a couple of weeks ago when he scored. I can't remember who it was against now. We won 1-0 at home to somebody and he scored the goal playing down the middle, and he was asked about it and basically said he doesn't enjoy playing down the middle. He'd rather play on the left-hand side, which was a very, very telling comment to make. And he's right again. The performance just wasn't good enough against 10 men. Like I said, we were second best for a large part of that game, and we played into Barnsley's hands, and it took the 4 subs coming on for us to turn it around, and we still managed to chuck it away at the end.
Gazov says it was good to see you on Saturday. Unfortunately, you got towned in the last minute. Won't be content with us having a playoff place until it's mathematically confirmed. Nervous for the running. I mean, he basically was just echoing along the lines of what you were saying, plus throwing in a last-second town dig.
Yeah, I met him on Saturday. He stopped me as I was on my way into the ground and said he'd been watching the pod, and it was him that commented last week. So yeah, it was good to get a positive feedback about the pod, and good to meet him. And he, again, like I say, everyone's saying the same thing. We worked very good, and we threw away an opportunity to cement our place in the top 6. And yeah, I feel exactly the same with the 3 games that we've got coming up. I won't feel confident until it's mathematically safe, because, like I said, Plymouth are a form team. They turn us over tomorrow night, and they're 3 points behind us. And then we've got Bolton on Saturday.
What's it like being famous, guys, getting stopped in the street now?
Well, it's quite funny, actually, Lou, because I was with Jason McEwen on Saturday. I was with Jason McKeon on Saturday at the game, and I was with him when he stopped me, when this lad stopped me. And I thought, he's going to say, because everyone knows who Jason is following City. Then he spoke to me. It's quite funny.
Love it. You need one of those showbiz signatures now, guys.
Yeah.
A little star in there somewhere or something. Go on, Downsy, very quickly before we jump to the table.
Well, I was just going to say, Gaz, do you think it was a penalty for Barnsley on Bradshaw? Watching the highlights, I thought it was a definite penalty, but I mean, you might be in I think you were probably at the other end, to be fair, from where it happened, from the camera angle, from where the away fans sit. But I thought it was a definite penalty, to be honest.
Yeah.
And secondly, I think you'll be fine. You'll get in there. I don't think you'll fall out.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Downsy, because I was going to talk about that penalty, and it's completely slipped my mind. In the ground, you're right, we were at the other end, and it looked absolutely stonewall. It looked like I could not believe it when he booked their lad. I think, was it, you say it was Bradshaw? I thought it was Reyes Cleary, but whoever it was.
Oh, it was Cleary. Sorry.
Very different individuals there.
Yeah, I was sure it was Reyes Cleary. But yeah, I was absolutely gobsmacked. So when he went down, he took him out from where we were, and I couldn't believe it when the referee booked the lad for diving. But when you actually watch it back on the replay, there's very little, if any, contact on Cleary when you watch it back. So in the ground, 100%, I was staggered that he didn't give it. But when you watch it back, like I say, maybe he's got it right, because it looks like there's very little, if any, contact. So if he has got that right, you've got to say fair play to referee, because it would have been very easy, having already sent a Barnsley player off, and obviously at their place to give that pen. So if he's got it right, fair play to him.
Yeah, some player as well as Reyes Cleary. Yeah, I'll certainly take a part in next season with Lincoln persuasion, that is for sure. As for the playoffs and the table, Gaz, I mean, look, I can understand why you're still a little bit nervous, but I think, as Downsy's kind of pointed out, I think you're in there enough at the moment. 6 points inside those playoff places. Crucially, I guess, with 3 games to go for the sides that are the ones that are chasing, sort of thing, not including, of course, Stockport, because whether they win that game in hand or not doesn't really change too much from your perspective beyond 72 points. So it's just, I mean, what do you think? If you can kind of grind out a couple of draws against these 2 home games, you'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it, and mathematically, if we beat Plymouth tomorrow night, then we're in the playoffs. But like you say,
Yeah.
maybe a couple of draws would be enough. I just feel we've hit a sticky patch at the wrong time. We were shithoused by Stevenage 10 days ago, and then we've gone to Barnsley in front, 2 points away. So we just seem to, like I say, a bit of a sticky patch. Disappointing with the experienced players that we've got in the squad. And Alexander called them out on it on Saturday, like I said, for not seeing the game out. We look very nervy on Saturday, like players like Tilt and Sam Walker just doing things that they wouldn't normally do. You would hope that we get over the line, but given the fantastic ending that we had to last season, maybe we're due a bit of heartache. I hope not. And like I say, I hope we get the job done as soon as possible, because the longer it drags on, the more nervy it gets. I think Luton and Plymouth are the two sides that can catch us looking at that table.
Luton will not catch you. Luton will not catch you. Plymouth, I still say Plymouth have got 2 easy fixtures after you. I know Jay disagrees with me in the group chat about that, but I really do. So I think personally it will be Bolton, Bradford, Stockport, and Plymouth. That's what I'm looking at. And the only thing for you guys that I will be concerned about, and I think you're right to bring it up, is you wouldn't necessarily be going into the playoffs with any confidence. You know, we talked about it earlier in non-league with Emily. It's a very similar thing for Bradford, isn't it? You want to go into the playoffs with some confidence behind you, you know, with some wins under your belt, and Bradford are not doing that.
Yeah, you're spot on. I said exactly that last week. You're right, mate. We always say it, don't we? Same at any level. It's those teams that stumble over the line that don't do very well, and those teams that come in form or make a late run that seem to have the best chance in the playoffs. And like you say, even if we do manage to stumble over the line, it's not necessarily a good sign. I think, like I said, I think Plymouth are one of the form teams in the division, and have been for a while now. So it'll be really tough tomorrow night. I listened to a little bit of Tom Cleverley's pre-match today, and he talked about how big a game it was and how they were coming to play and to win the game. And he mentioned how if they beat us, they rein us back in and make us catchable. So they're going to be well up for it, and we have to be as well. We have to get an atmosphere going at Valley Parade and somehow, at the very least, avoid defeat, but hopefully get the win that means that finishing 6.
Bradford lad, of course, as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, started in the Bradford Academy before he went to Man United.
Yeah. I'm sure he'll have probably a family at the game, I would have thought.
It's quite yeah, apparently his whole family are City fans, I was told many years ago. So, yeah, you would imagine they'll be there.
Yeah, absolutely. Fingers crossed for tomorrow night. Guess hopefully City can pull out a positive result as well. That'll, at the very least, make you feel a little bit better, even if it's not a full guarantee of making the playoffs. Very finally, and very, very briefly, Leeds did a thing at the weekend with a comfortable 3-0 win over Wolves that sees them now 8 points clear of the bottom 3. So they are, I think it's fair to say, as good as safe in the Premier League, whilst it's starting to look more and more like Spurs are heading for the Championship. But yeah, we'll see.
West Ham 0-0 at the moment, Chris. Just to let you know.
It's just got restarted the second half between Palace and West Ham, currently goalless in that one. Let's wrap it up there then. Big thank you to Gareth Walker, to Lewis Sale, to Dave Foy, and to Stephen Downs for joining me tonight here on our usual Monday Night Roundup. We'll be back next week with a review, really, the end of some of the divisions. Of course, there'll be non-league playoffs that will be ready to go as well. So we'll preview those as well next week. But for myself and the rest of the lads, enjoy the rest of your Monday night, and we'll see you soon here on the West Junction Football Show. Good night.